Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to add my thoughts onto the latest scandal, it's all getting very messy, to hit the government, as it is revealed that in order to avoid paying taxes to her husband's department, Rishi Sunak's wife, Chancellor Murthy, is claiming non-dom status in the UK. The right-wing media are trying to say that the only question is this legal? It certainly is an important question. However, regardless of the answer, there is also a political question as well. Is it right for the Chancellor to tell people to behave one way when his household behaves another? But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So two really important questions here. Like I say, I'll cover the legal question because that is, well, first, that is the simplest to frame. There should also be an objective answer, but as I'm not a legal expert, I don't know what it is. I can hazard a very good guess, and I will sort of suggest that at the end. So, Chancellor Murthy, the daughter of one of India's wealthiest billionaires, is claiming non-dom status in the UK. This means that she does not have to pay UK tax on any income earned through her interests abroad. To be clear, nobody is suggesting that she is not paying UK tax on income earned in this country as required by the Treasury. But that is not the point either. The question is, from a legal point of view, is she paying all the UK tax that she should be? Now, non-dom status basically means she's claiming that her permanent residence is outside the UK. You know, normally the reason for this is like, well, you know, you may have a permanent home in some part of the world. You may spend a significant amount of time in a different country where you've got a lot of business interests, you know, to look over them, blah, 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 blah. But your permanent residence really should be somewhere else. Now, I don't know where she spends most of her time, but in reality, I gather it is in the UK. I mean, she, with her husband, the Chancellor, has lots of homes around the world. They've recently buggered off to California, for example, after dropping the British public in the shit with Sunak's spring budget statement. Where it gets suspicious is that Murthy is claiming non-dom status on the basis of being an Indian citizen. Her spokesperson is reported as saying India doesn't allow citizens to hold dual citizenship as a reason not to have a British passport. So that that's the reason for her status. The thing is, that's a lie. Not that India doesn't allow dual citizenship. That may well be true. I'm not going to look it up. It doesn't matter. It's not relevant here. Domicile status has nothing to do with citizenship. Now, that is a fact. That's easily verified. It's entirely about where you make your home. Whatever passport she holds has no bearing at all on where her home is. If her home is in the UK, then she is unlawfully evading UK taxes, or should be. If she is legally a non-dom, then it will be on the basis that her permanent address is outside the UK, nothing to do with her citizenship. Now, without coming to a definite conclusion, but I will go over more evidence, but I don't have the full facts or the legal expertise, I would ask this. If non-dom status has got nothing to do with citizenship, and given that it would be surprising to learn that someone who lives in Downing Street and whose children are schooled in the UK is claiming to actually live outside the UK, why would her spokesperson say something that was untrue? Let us assume there's some bizarre loophole in our tax laws, which basically there is, that allow her to legally claim non-dom status even though she clearly lives in the UK as ordinary people would understand it. Why not just explain on that basis that she's doing this? Why didn't her spokesperson just say, do you know what? Yes, we basically live here, but the law allows me to say that I live somewhere else, so that's what I'm doing. Perfectly legal. Why say something that is clearly untrue? I've said it before, even recently, if you tell a lie, it is because you do not want to tell the truth. This means the truth must be one of two things. First, she is legally a non-dom, but it uses such an egregious loophole in our tax laws that her husband, the Chancellor, would look really bad that it even exists, and she is lying basically to help him out politically, not cover her own arse. That is actually what I think is happening here. But second, it could be that she is not legally a non-dom, and she's lying to try and obscure the fact, knowing that the government department that would need to investigate such claims is run by her husband, who's not exactly going to be motivated to drop his wife into legal bother. But here's the thing, it could all be legal above board. I think it is, like I say. And I think her spokesperson is lying because it's politically awkward. Haggis UK, cracking account on Twitter, dug up a gem, very good at this, which I'll link below, from 2015. It involves a clip from a parliamentary select committee where MPs are told that it is perfectly legal to be resident in the UK, properly living in the UK, but officially be classed as not resident to get out of paying taxes. So that's the legal question explained, I hope. Now the political question, which is more nuanced, and I would absolutely say the answer can be subjective. Regardless of whether or not Sunak's wife is paying her legal share of taxes, is it right for a senior member of the government to urge people to behave in a way that his or her own household is not? And it's not that obvious. On the one hand, Sunak's wife is obviously her own person. She doesn't have to do what Sunak says. We can certainly expect that politicians should lead by example, or the example that they wish to others to follow, but they do not and should not dictate rules to their partners. But if Murty is acting lawfully, then there is a clear hole in our tax laws that Sunak should be dealing with. And this is why the right-wing press simply want to focus on whether it's legal. No, no, no. The politics is actually more important, if anything. Because the legal issue affects one person. The political issue affects lots of people. Murty lives in the UK. Whether in the legal sense or not, she clearly lives in the UK. Her children are schooled here. She, I'm guessing, lives with her husband almost all the time, and Sunak's official home is in Yorkshire, with his professional home in London. That she may spend time in houses that she owns in other countries does not mean she can claim to live there. You don't just have houses in lots of different countries and claim to live where you please. Where you live is where you live. If she spends most of her time living in the UK, she lives in the UK. Anywhere else she happens to sleep is a holiday. So even if this is all legal, why doesn't Sunak say, well, it is all above board, it's all perfectly legal, but do you know what? I can see how it's not in the UK's interest to allow this arrangement because we're losing a load of taxes. So we'll be changing the law to prevent it in the future. And it's not like this law would be unusual. Like, bear in mind, take an extreme example, the United States goes way to the other side. If you're a US citizen, you pay taxes to the US Treasury, even if you are clearly living and working in another country. You know, for a country that likes to think of itself as low tax, doesn't know how to vacuum up the taxes. You have to pay taxes if you live and work in the US, no matter where you come from. Well, that's fair enough. But you also have to pay taxes if you don't live and work in the US. Can we live on the moon and not pay taxes? No, we need those taxes for flag planting purposes. But back onto the issue with senior politicians and their families. It's worth at this point referring to the ministerial code. Quote, on appointment to each new office, ministers must provide their permanent secretary with a full list in writing of all interests which might be thought to give rise to a conflict. The list should also cover interests of the minister's spouse or partner and close family which might be thought to give rise to a conflict. So although we wouldn't argue that Sunak should dictate his wife's financial affairs, he is duty bound to report any of her arrangements that could represent a conflict of interest. Note it doesn't have to be a conflict of interest, merely that it might be. For example, Murty had major financial interests in Russia, which she did not remove even as her husband, Rishi Sunak, was urging people in the UK to cut ties with the country. Now, she doesn't have to, just because Sunak asked for it, but when he was asked about his wife's commercial interests and links with the Kremlin, he got angry and said it was none of our business. Well, it is our business if there is a potential conflict of interest here. And as the ministerial code makes clear, that conflict of interest covers close family, including his wife. Because here is the thing. This hole in our tax laws needs closing up. The Chancellor should do that. Why doesn't he? Well, you can argue the fact that his wife would suffer as a result of this is a conflict of interest. That's why it's important that we know things so that conflicts of interest do not arise. Also, politically to consider is the bigger picture when it comes to the cost of living. Right now, the country is being squeezed. Our bills are going up a lot. I mean, a lot. The poorest 30% of the population are facing the tightest squeeze of all. The government say they can't do any more about it. They say there isn't the money to do so. But if people like Sunak's wife, and she won't be the only one, if they're getting away with paying a lot of tax to the UK Treasury, then Sunak is deliberately declining to receive more in tax receipts than he could while simultaneously pleading national poverty. I imagine on an individual basis, if you complain you can't afford your bills, you heard at work going, I can't make ends meet, can't afford the bills. Your boss, they're a good worker. They offer you a big pay rise. No extra work, you deserve it, hard work, blah, 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 you're struggling, I understand that. Big pay rise. And you decline it. Would it be reasonable to still complain about your bills? I wouldn't say so. Finally, John Redwood, one of the more entertaining Tory Brexiteers, argued that the nondom system is good for the UK. But objectively, any system like this is only good for the UK if it provides a net boost to our coffers. Given that this system is being used to drain our economy, how can it possibly be good? Because forgetting about this one individual, if this practice is legal, and like I say, it sounds like it probably is, it doesn't necessarily mean that she legally has nondom status. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it's clearly possible to be legally assigned nondom status in this country while still basically living here virtually all the time. So if it is legal, it is a law for which the sole purpose is to allow people to benefit from basically living in the UK, including taking our furlough money. Rishi Sunak's wife received, via her professional interests, a lot of furlough money without actually paying tax on all business interests as an official resident would have to. In other words, if I had the same business interests as Rishi Sunak's wife, I would have to pay a lot more tax. What's the difference here? Why would that be? It's an absolute classic case of one rule for us and another for them. And as we've seen repeatedly in the past year, this attitude is something that people in Britain do not like the look of. But whatever conclusions people come to, I have seen some saying that it basically finishes off his political ambitions. And I can see how it's politically damaging. After all, during tough times, the government only survives if they can claim we're all in it together. It doesn't sit right with voters when they are told to tighten their belts, or what, by those who are clearly not having to do so themselves and at the same time are depriving the Treasury of much needed funds. But truth be told, his ambitions were probably sunk anyway with the cost of living crisis that he has permitted to take hold. I've said it before, he needed to oust Johnson before this spring. He didn't. Don't want to say anything for certain because politics is mad in the UK right now. But it would surely be insane for Tory MPs to get behind Sunak now or in the future, or at the very least, I cannot envisage the circumstances where it would seem sensible to do so. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.